waiting to go again. I never woke up this morning, this week, or tonight. I
All right, that was the opening track from Courtney Swain's new album, Silver Lining. Courtney, thank you so much for joining today.
Hello, thank you for having me.
That song is incredible.
Thanks.
It's I don't know where you're coming from. It's like you take music every time you put out a new album, there's something on it that makes me go, what am I hearing? This is incredible. And this was the track for me.
Thanks. Yeah. I feel that way when I listen to it, and it feels very fresh. This is the first track that I started writing after the beginning of the pandemic. So I remember here in New England, like March 13th, which also happened to be a Friday, was the day that everything just was like, all right, we're not going anywhere anymore. And I wrote this song on April 1st. And I don't know what happened, but I can't find some of the lyrics. Like I don't know where I wrote them down. And I couldn't really figure out, there's this one line I never figured out. Plus, that was just a scratch vocal that I think I recorded that day. And it's just a cut and paste in the first and the second half. And so it's just this very mysterious song that just kind of came together, and I don't even know what to make of it. I just think it's really cool.
It is super cool. There's musician Trey Gunn. He says he thinks music is kind of like mathematics, where humans don't make it up; they discover it. They find it in the universe. And
love that.
I love hearing stories like that, where you surprise even yourself as an artist when you make something.
Yeah, I see eye to eye with that very much. I'm a believer or a follower of, I don't know if you know this, I just happen to have it on my desk, this book called The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron.
Right. Yeah.
And there's one of the exercises in that book involves affirmations, and I've done the book a couple times, and the first time, some of the affirmations she suggests have like the word God in it, and I'm not a super religious person, and the first time I was like, this doesn't apply to me. And the second time I was like, there's something that I'm avoiding here. And so I tried all the affirmations, including the ones with God, and it changed my relationship with creativity. And I think that's the goal, where you're sort of taking like the responsibility and the obsession with creativity away from you. And it's just sort of this thing that happens, and you just happen to like tune in, kind of like a radio, I feel like is the usual analogy. But yeah, try again. Love it.
Yeah, that's something I think a lot about. I don't talk much about my beliefs on the channel, but as a Catholic, I know that's a bad word for some people, but as a Catholic, I very much tap into the source of creation and that it is available to us. And God is not an old man in a cloud on a throne, but something else, some sort of spirit and force, which is much more in line with the much older beliefs about God. It's almost like we've personified him in recent centuries. Nevertheless, for me, it's the same kind of thing. Like and that's what makes music incredible, that you can tap into this and you feel like this is a supernatural experience. This is beyond me. And this music resonates something in me that I didn't know I had inside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that. And I'm so happy you shared that, Anthony, because I feel like, I mean, this kind of goes into a different topic, but I feel like being religious in indie or rock music is like almost like this taboo that you're not allowed to talk about,
Yeah.
And I don't think that's fair. And I think, if we're going to talk about, being open and inclusive, I'm glad that you feel comfortable that you can share that. And I think that's awesome.
Well, with you for sure, definitely.
I'm here.
Yeah, thank you. So Sharon Baker, who is this very kind volunteer on Make Word Music, and she moderates like all of our streams. She just said, congratulations on being awarded the Robert and Margaret McCall Johnson Fellowship. So congratulations on that. And could you tell us a little about this award that you received?
Thanks. Yeah. So I was a Margaret or the McCall Johnson Fellow for the calendar year of 2021, maybe. But we're talking about like religion, and I'm also a very spiritual person, and I'm like a very believer in like, whoa, things happening. But during the first year of the pandemic, I was thinking I want to make more money. It's like a theme in my life.
That's a good thing.
Yeah, and I got this email out of nowhere on an email that I don't subscribe to things. It's like my teaching email, and I don't use it often. And I got this email from this like artist residency aggregate that was like, oh, we're looking for people to apply to this. It's a $25,000 artist grant, like no strings attached, for musicians this year.
Wow.
And I was like, this is me. I don't know. I just had this feeling where I was like, this is what I asked for, and I know I can get this. It's weird. I'm not often like that, and so I applied and I got it. I found out. I don't normally check my voicemail because I'm like scared of voicemails, but I just had this number I didn't know, and I listened to it. And it was the person from their office, and they're like, please call me back. And I called them back, and they were like, hey, so you got it. And I'm like crying on the phone, and Vince had just gone on a walk. And so I just like throw my phone down, and I'm like running around the block as fast as I can. I'm like, I got it. It was very exciting, but it just meant a ton for me because I've struggled with imposter syndrome, and just sort of taking myself seriously as an artist for all the time I've been an artist, which, I think I could go as far back as maybe 2008 when I started at music school. And also a lot of my work has been with Bent Knee, which is a collective, and I feel like a part of it, but I also, wasn't sure what my voice was outside of that. And so it was just a massive, massive thumbs up for me to sort of, it felt like you are valuable, your work as an individual and what you're doing is important, and do more of it. And obviously it just allowed me to do a lot. Earlier we were talking about Eurorack because my little Eurorack setup is in the back there, but one thing that the grant really allowed me to do is to buy gear, which sounds really basic, but for a long time I was struggling to write music on my computer. Like I'm fine with computers, but there's a part of me that's like a grandma. Like it's like a weird Luddite part of me that just start like I just start, when the computer's fan goes on and it's pushing, I'm just like, it's broken, and I don't know why. So I always just chalked it up to my being lazy. I just thought this is just an excuse that I'm making up. And then I got a bunch of hardware, and the experience of making music was totally different for me. And I've since read and sort of tuned into a lot of people who've had a similar experience where they, for one reason or another, switched to hardware, went back to interacting more with hardware, and had this visceral experience. One of my favorite Eurorack modules is a filter. And there's this feeling that I get when I'm turning this filter and I'm opening up the low pass filter that is just wonderful, and it just makes me excited to create. So anyway, long story short, that was the grant, and I'm very grateful that I just stumbled upon that, and that the panel selected me to be a part of that honor. It's incredible.
Yeah, I have to say just a couple of things in response. Having dealt with imposter syndrome myself, and having managed entire teams of people all over the world who've dealt with it, first I want to say you absolutely are an artist, and you are an important artist, not just an artist. You bring something to the world that, like, the only reason this channel exists is to shine a spotlight on people like you. And that's like my creative work, is to just say, look at this person, they are incredible, and you are absolutely one of those people. So don't undersell or undervalue yourself, because every time you put something out, my friend Ron Barry, you might have seen his comments on stuff, he's texting me and he's like, did you hear the new Courtney album? I'm like, it's incredible. We're going back and forth, and seriously, everything you put out is fantastic, and you bring something to a collective. It's not you are just someone who's on the sidelines, or you're allowing something to happen. You are an incredible artist. So, I just want to validate your creativity and your artistry, because it deserves every bit of praise that it gets, for sure.
Well, thank you. I must say it's meant so much to me to be on like all of your website and your YouTube. Every time you've done this, ever since the first time, I was just so flattered. And somebody was just commenting and saying, like, Anthony, I just love how he asks questions, and I'm just so impressed and blown away by like your work ethic, and just how you ask questions, and it's very sneaky and beautiful, like somehow like I'm just talking, and I'm talking about myself because that's the idea of an interview, and I'm like, oh wait, like I want to hear what Anthony's doing. It's like
Well, thank you, I appreciate it. And then secondly, Andre Chumley, who I believe you do know.
Yes.
He said he's loving this interview from Berlin. He's on tour with Pat Metheny as his guitar tech, and I think he's doing keyboard tech too. But he says, love Courtney and Bentley from day one. What a voice, what a talent. This is great. And OMG, she's diving into modular. Call me.
Well, thank you so much, Andre. I feel like we've corresponded through like so many webs, and just never had the opportunity to meet him. I hope this happens.
Yeah, I hope so too. I've actually never met him in person either.
Oh, really?
Yeah. But
mythical figure.
Yeah, Antoine D says, please ask about the collabs with Leprous and Car Bomb. Car Bomb is like the most exciting new metal band in my mind, so I'm excited to hear about this too.
Cool. I'm so glad you know them, Anthony. That's very cool. Yeah, I love Car Bomb. I'm good friends with their guitarist Greg, and we sort of slowed down recently, but we used to just send each other music. He would be like, "What are you listening to?" And I'll be like, "This and this and this," and he'll be like, "Listen to this," and we listen to such like entirely different things. That it's just fascinating to pick his brain. And one time we hung out in New York and we went to eat food or something, and I was like, you have to tell me how you're writing your music. And he was like, do you have something to write? And he took my notebook and he just started writing out how he writes his like riffs. And I was like, holy shit, man, this is brilliant and absolutely insane, because I think as a musician who sort of started with the classical framework, I'm used to thinking of boxes first, like what's the meter and how do I fit that in? And like Greg's not thinking about meter at all, or not at all is like an overstatement, but at least at that time, when he was explaining his writing to me, and things changed, he might be doing something else now, but he was like, it was pattern based and there was no big box over it, and I was like, this is cool, this is wild. But yeah, I was so flattered to be a part of their album Ordeal, because I loved Meta, the album before, and I think
mind blowing.
Yeah, it's like, how is it happening? And they're all really wonderful people. And Leprous, so cool to see. I actually haven't collabed with them. Chris has done a lot of string work with them. I mean, he's such our violin player in Bentley, Chris Baum. But I mean, I love Leprous. Einar is like a god. And they're all such sweethearts, and it's really cool to see like how hard they are working and how hard they're taking off. It's really neat to see. Earlier we were talking about imposter syndrome, but I don't know if it's because of like Norway and maybe they have better support systems for art and artists, and I think they won like the Grammy Award of Norway and stuff, and so maybe they're just more established. But hanging out with them, I always had this sense that they had no doubt that, they're like, this is like a job that I love, and it was like a really different drive that they have towards their music and their writing, where they're just like, let's do this, let's like, it's really exciting to be like, to know people and to be a part of a group, or like a conversation like that. It's very inspiring.
That sounds really awesome. We've gotten fairly off track. We're here to talk about your new album. But it makes me really want to have a discussion about this, perhaps a public one, because I think that there could be a really great, valuable discussion to be had to inspire people dealing with these feelings, especially creative people. Mm-hmm. All right, let's take a listen to Magic Mirror. I think that was the one I wanted to hear. It's funny that this album, you put out a video for Commenti, and then which one was the other video?
It was for that first song.
Silver Lining. Silver Lining, that's right. Yeah, that's right. So the other songs were fairly surprising, and a couple of them are just really short, little noise tracks, which is cool. Not noise in a pejorative sense.
No.
All right, so let's take a listen to Magic Mirror. Anything you want to set up for people who are hearing this for the first time?
I wrote this song entirely in my head. I was meditating, and this song started playing in my head, and I had to stop meditating to write it down, because it just wrote most of it in my head.
Fantastic. All right, let's give it a listen.
Cool.
I'm always too hot for me, I see through the sheet. You're the angel, I'm the devil at the door. If I can't sell you on, I can't sell you on, I can't sell you on me. And you can't sell me on, you can't sell me when every other boy stainless steel, and the best weapons that the man not be. Even though you have a leak prophecy, the conversations can turn into a tear. If I can't sell you on, I can't sell you on, I can't sell you on me. Then you can't sell me on, you can't sell me on you.
All right. That was pretty cool. That is not the song I was thinking of.
Oh my gosh, what was the song you were thinking of?
I think it was inanimate objects with all the
Oh,
weird
yeah.
whistles and stuff.
Yes, 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 yes.
We'll close on that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah,
Yeah.
Courtney, this new music is truly great, and it is new music. It's not. It doesn't sound like it's trying to be old or anything else. It just sounds like you are expressing yourself. So that is super cool. Could you talk a little about just the writing experience? Because this album really sounds very different from each of your previous albums.
Thanks. Yeah. So this album, I think last time we spoke, I was telling you about the Critter and Guitar organelle, which I also happen to have here. I did not prepare for this.
That's right.
I just happen to have props, but that this album, I wrote a lot of it on the organelle, like the A rhythmical loop in Silver Lining came from organelle. The drum machine, like the beat in the song we just listened to, Magic Mirror, came from the organelle. A bunch of stuff came from the organelle, and I what I love about the instrument is that because it's software based, once in a while I go on their website and they have all these new patches of like how, you know, that have different synths or different ways to generate music. And so yeah, my when I started writing this album, I went on their website and I pulled a bunch of their patches off, their new patches that had been sort of accumulating. And I just, you know, every day I spent a little bit of time learning a patch and then was trying to make music with it. So I think that's kind of where a lot of like the different sounding things or the from left field stuff comes from. But overall, I think the big difference with this album is I did try to write this as an RPM. Like I wrote it in April, and I was planning originally to finish it in April. And I have a few albums that I've done like that, where it's just been like it's a quantity exercise. It's sort of pushing yourself and getting to know yourself as a writer by trying to set a quantity limit versus a quality limit in your output. Um, and I, in the past, just sort of put things out. But this album, Vince and I sort of hung on to it for a while. Vince is my spouse and also my producer, and we workshopped it pretty extensively. And I think that's the difference in the sound. It's like it's that weird like that weird production-y stuff that I start by myself in my room, but I think it has like a thought like a very well crafted feeling and sound to it, because it was also very meditated upon and very massaged to sort of like really refine it.
That's super cool. We did get a bunch of questions in the chat as well, so I'm going to ask some of them, and if we could go through them relatively quickly, I'd like to wrap this up. It's so fun, but I try to keep them to a half hour, and we're coming up on
That's
20
smart.
minutes.
Sorry, I'm a ranter.
No. It's great. I love that you talk. So the voice effect, Walter Marquez asks, the voice effect is interesting. I thought its presence in the album was more of a Ben Levin influence due to his recent work. Was it something you brought to that album too, Courtney?
I think it's actually a Vince influence. We get into a lot of discussions about autotune, but long story short, Vince likes to use it as sort of an effect, very akin to distortion, to sort of change the impression of the vocal. But yeah.
Cool. Yeah, Andre also said, this new music is fantastic. I'd like to hear about Courtney getting into vocal processing like this track and the recent Bent Knee from well over a year ago. But I'm assuming you wouldn't have a different response.
No, yeah, it's the same. At least what's happening in the albums is a very Vince thing. I've been getting into vocal processing, running through guitar pedals too, but that's like a whole different thing. That's not really present.
Oh, very cool. I don't know if you know a woman named Beth Fleener, or Crystal Beth, out of Seattle. She almost entirely performs all of her vocals through the Line 6 looper, and uses all sorts of effects. I mean, she's like watching a tornado. She's an incredible performer, so much energy, like primal screaming on stage, speaking in she has her own language,
Whoa.
Yeah, you'd really love her.
Yeah,
we've interviewed her a couple
excited.
times. Yeah, I'll send you some links to her stuff.
Please, yes.
Let's see. Sharon Baker asks, what have you been listening to lately?
Oh, that's a good question. I've been listening to James Blake's recent album from last year.
So good.
Unbelievable. It's it's like the album I want to make. I've been listening to, this isn't an album, but I've been listening to a podcast called Why We Bleep by Mylar, who's a Eurac YouTuber, which I found incredibly inspiring. There's an artist called Alexia Avina that I saw live and I really loved. She has an album out recently called A Little Older. I'm still listening to Moses Sumney's Gray, which is now about 3 years old, but it took me that long to get into it because it's such a dense album. And also LCD Sound System. I'm really into what's their famous one with Dance Yourself Clean. That's where it starts with.
Yeah. I don't know the name of the album. Can't tell you.
Very good. Yeah.
And are there plans to play any of this material live? And then you might as well tell us about the Bent Knee tour coming in June. Both questions from Sharon.
Yes. Yeah, I want to start playing this stuff live. I'm thinking about how to do it now. I have a live set that is more kind of a traditional, like Courtney plays piano and sings kind of thing, with a varying degree of like frills and bells and whistles attached to it. But I want to play some of my newer stuff out live, and I've become more interested in improvisation and stuff, and so I'm sort of looking for a different setup for my my own stuff. And I'm planning on maybe starting some shows or touring maybe in the fall or something. We'll see. Bethany is touring in the Northeast from June 9th, and we are going as far west as Pontiac or Chicago. I forget which one's more west because my geography is sketchy. And as far south as Baltimore. And we're ending at Beard Fest, which is very exciting because I've never been to a Beard Fest in New Jersey. Yeah.
Very cool. And is there a European tour as well that's coming?
No, so we were supposed to be in Europe with The World is a Beautiful Place and I'm No Longer Afraid to Die. Like, I think we would have been, this would have been our last week maybe. But we had to postpone it. So hopefully that will get rescheduled, but I don't know yet.
Cool. All right. So everyone who's watching, if you've gotten this far, check out CourtneySwain.com. The URL is here in the lower right. And then you can follow Courtney on Instagram at Chortney. I don't think that's how you say it, but
yeah, it used to be my bank user login. It's no longer. Don't worry.
Well, I hope you changed your password.
Yeah, I did.
Okay, good. Yeah, so check her out on Instagram. Check her out on her website, and you can get all of her music on Bandcamp, including a lot of the, if not all of the Bent Knee music catalog. Highly, highly recommend Courtney's solo work. Really, it's all fantastic. It's all different, and there's surprises in every recording. So Courtney's just one of those people who is an authentic artist who is willing to express herself in the most honest ways possible. And then she's willing to explore all sorts of sounds and techniques and textures. So there's always an adventure. What was that?
I was going to say I'm an authentic make weird music person.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so check it out at her website. There's a link to her Bandcamp. And then we have one more live stream coming up this Friday with Kevin Castning and Mark Wingfield. They have a new album of improvisational guitar music, and Kevin plays a multi-neck. He's got like a 36-string thing. I think he calls it a contra guitar. Really interesting guy, and their music is cool. So that's this Friday. And then if there's a little join button below your video player on YouTube, and that lets you support Make Weird Music for $3 a month. Really simple, easy way to help us out. And you get access to early content and plenty of unreleased stuff. There's probably 6 to 8 hours of unreleased footage available for Club Weird members. So, Courtney, again, thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and let's support Courtney, buy her music, and there are physical CDs as well, right?
They are not for this album.
Not for this album. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, but there are for previous albums.
Correct.
And yeah, support her stuff. And if you click that thumbs up button on this video, that'll help tell the YouTube algorithm that people need to hear Courtney's music. So I'd appreciate if you did that. All right, let's close on the song Inanimate Object. Anything you want to say about all the sounds and cool stuff we're going to hear on this one?
It's just all the fun things I found in my attic.
Awesome. I love this track, so I hope you enjoy it.
I wanna be the asphalt in front of my house. Anonymous artist who lets everything roll off his back. Right onto Main Street. Road don't hold no grudges. Don't know about whole character flaws. I let the gubernatorial bodies come over and patch me up. When I need patching, patch me up.
I love that. All right, I
Yeah,
gotta
make
end the
me have
stream.
bad dreams too.